Now let us see what India has done on this one corridor, which is similar to ML1 of Pakistan Railways. The development pace 15 to 18% per annum. This was what they projected when they started it, and they have gone right on time and they have completed the project by 2021. Now the axle load on this project, on this railway line between Bombay to Delhi, used to be similar to ours. It was 28.8 at one time. Then the Indian people, one minute here, getting hotter here. So the Indian government and the Indian railways, they made it a continuous process, and they upgraded their axle load. And I think I told you earlier that the axle load is a basic perimeter for any transport system on the road. तो उन्होंने upgrade किया from 22.86 to 25. This they did gradually over the last maybe 10-15 years, और 20 साल पहले की और 25 ton axle load पे their trains are running. Ours is still 22.86, our mainline one. And in the ML1 upgradation project, we intend to increase the axle load to 25 tons. But what India has done is keeping in view their loads, keeping in view their volumes of traffic, keeping in view their forecast of traffic and the kind of loads that they were expecting. They are now, the axle load has gone up to 32.5 tons per axle. When we say 32.5 tons, that means if it is a 4-axle bogie wagon, so 32.5 multiplied by 4, this is the payload that their bogies are carrying. And the track is the same, the locomotives are almost the same, but on one axle they are carrying 32.5 tons. And this means that the payload of one bogie wagon, bogie, as I told you earlier, is 4-axle. So they're carrying 130 tons of payload. Today, Pakistan Railways, our high capacity wagons are carrying 60 tons. So this is almost double of what we are carrying. More than double of what we are carrying, and what we think this is a good thing that we have done. That we have these high capacity wagons which can carry 60 tons of cargo as payload. वो वहाँ पे 130 ले जा रहा. So this is how then you develop your infrastructure. This is how you develop your services and how you upgrade. So ये बहुत बड़ा फर्क है. So just wanted to stress on this word axle load. This is, I hope you can see it. So axle load is a very important parameter for inland transportation on. It is true for trucks, it is true for buses and for everything. So all your infrastructure then is designed according to the axle load. हमारे जो roads हैं, by at one time they used to be designed for 12-ton axle load. So look at the inefficiencies there. But now I believe it has gone up to 15 and 16 tons. Somewhere there are still bridges which are for 12 tons. So there the heavy loads have to go down and be diverted from those bridges. Otherwise it becomes very dangerous. But on the railways, that is one aspect why railway traffic and long-lived and bulk traffic goes by rail, because the axle load can be increased to 32.5 tons. Then in India, what they did was that the train length has gone up from 700 meters to 1500 meters. Now that means that the looping capacity at railway stations, and since it's a double line, they can afford it. So the length of the train has more than doubled. So you can well imagine what one train can carry when the axle load has gone up and the length of the train has gone up almost doubled. So in our case, if one coach is carrying 60 tons of payload in Pakistan, and we were, let us imagine that maybe one day we will achieve what India has achieved today, and we will reach 32.5 tons. So each coach then from 60 tons will go up to 130 tons of payload, and their trains have gone up from 700 meters to 1500 meters, which is almost double. So our train, 60 tons of payload, we can carry about 34, 35 bogie wagons. But this comes to about 2,400 tons of payload per train. 2,400 tons of payload per train जो हम कर सकते हैं आजकल. And if we can do that, that is very, we think it is very efficient. But look what India is doing. They are carrying 130 in each. And let me just multiply it and tell you कि क्या करते हो. Now they are carrying almost 9 to 10,000 tons per train. 9 to 10,000 tons per train. We are carrying 2,400 tons per train. So that is how the capacity has been built. One freight train is carrying 9 to 10,000 tons. हम 2,400 tons. So about almost 4 times. हमसे ज़्यादा एक train उठा रही. Then train load increased from 500 tons to 1,300. Yeah, here it is. I was doing my own calculation, but here this bullet point shows that they were carrying 500 tons per train. Now they have gone up to 1,300 tons per train. This is a huge jump, almost double, more than double. Then unit cost of transport is expected to decrease by 40%. The aim of all this development is to reduce the cost of transport, reduce the cost of doing business. So by doing these things and investing in the infrastructure, increasing the axle load, increasing the efficiency of the wagons, increasing the efficiency of the trains, now the unit cost of transport has decreased by almost 40%, which is substantial. Frankly, 5%, 10% is also good enough. But what they have done is 40%. So this is how development takes place. And the transit time is now under 24 hours for, and I'm talking here of freight trains, by the way. I'm not talking of passenger trains. A train leaving Bombay, arriving in Delhi, will take less than 24 hours, which is as good as our Tezgam, which leaves Karachi and arrives Rawalpindi in almost 23 hours. So this is frankly as good as Tezgam traveling. And what can be better than this? So this is just to show you what people have done, and not very far away, it is right in our neighborhood. And they were expecting that in 2021, 22, this year, last year, which they have achieved, they will be carrying 6.2 million tons of container units. These are 20-footer container units, 6.2 million container units. And they were expecting that they will carry 40 million tons other cargo. 40 million tons of other cargo. Pakistan Railways पूरे साल में 8-9 million ton उठाती है. Now the total railways Pakistan Railway carries about 8 to 9 million tons, and here on this one dedicated corridor between Bombay to Delhi, they are carrying 40 million tons. Our forecast for upgradation of ML1, we will come to ML1 when we, after maybe next lecture will be on ML1. There we will see how this forecast is there, and our forecast is almost similar to this. It is about 35 to 40 million tons of cargo. Now this again, this forecasting has been done by independent bodies. Now what India has done then, which again is part of our CPEC overall project, that they have developed industrial parks on the entire route from Bombay to Delhi. So it facilitates the industry in getting raw materials to them. Raw materials reach very fast and very efficiently by train and in bulk. and then the finished goods can also be taken out from these industrial zones. So the industrial zones are located on the freight corridor. The freight corridor does not go to these industrial parks. The parks have been developed on the thing, and this is exactly what the Chinese would like us to do. That you have all your SEZs, जिसको हम कहते हैं special economic zones. They have been insisting that they should be along ML1, so that the raw materials incoming and outgoing produce of the factories can be facilitated by efficient train operations. But India has already done this. And 10, 20, 21, 22, this is operational and they're doing good business. So this was just a short comparison that what other people are doing, what they have done. और ये कोई rocket science की बात नहीं है. It is all simple railways, frankly, simple engineering. But the intention of the political things, the planning part, ये हमारा somehow it has always been missing, and we could not. We should have been like this corridor today, but unfortunately, since the project has not started, if ML1 comes in by next 5-6 years, maybe we reach this kind of traffic and these volumes and these parameters. So अभी now ये इसको मैं थोड़ा सा जल्दी करूँगा. These are key challenges. What are we doing? We are talking of Pakistan Railways now. I brought you down from transportation, brought you to railways. Then railways, I brought you down to Pakistan Railways. You go railways in Pakistan, यही Pakistan Railways. So then key challenges Pakistan Railways में क्या है? मतलब as a railway person, how do you look at it? The different systems हैं. उसमें क्या चीजें? What are those challenges which need to be addressed and which need to be looked at? One is safety and service reliability. Isme punctuality becomes a very, very important issue, and it can sort of make or break the organization. If your trains are not punctual, if they are not according to the timetable, they arrive late, the credibility goes for 6, and that affects then your customer services and your customer the service. So punctuality and customer services may facilitation, then outlift infrastructure and rolling stock. Yes, safety ka ek. This is an aspect where the infrastructure is bad. It is not being kept according to the standards that are required. It needs a lot of more investment to maintain it to what the design is actually. So wo bhi masle hain. The same is the case with rolling stock. Things are not very good. So whenever locomotive needs replacement of parts, whenever a freight wagon or passenger coach requires a replacement of parts, we say, okay, let us, defer it for some time. And that is where then the accidents come in. Then railway, also Pakistan Railways has governance issues. Yes, we will talk on each one of them. And governance means that one of them is the human resource issue. Human resource management issues. There's a lot of employment being given to people on the railways. Are they required? Are they not required? What would be a good number for railways? Then optimum use of assets, whatever is available, is it being used or not? Or is that asset being utilized? If it is not being utilized, something needs to be done. Then e-governance and digitalization. The world is advancing very fast. It's a digital age and it's the IT age, but somehow railways has not kept pace. Then land management system issues. Railway has very, very expensive, very sort of sought after land in all the major cities and towns and even the villages wherever the railway passes. So how is that being managed? We keep hearing that railway ka bas zameen bahut zyada encroachments and all that. Then financial management issues. Is it profitable to run a train? Is it profitable to run a passenger train? Is it what kind of a passenger train will give you profits? And how do you determine which kind of a train is required? These are issues, profitability. And what kind of a freight train do you want? You want coal trains, you want oil trains, you want fertilizer trains, which priority needs to be given? Then financials may, the pension liability is becoming frankly a nightmare for railways. The pension liabilities has gone up much, much higher even than the salaries. of the employees. Why? Because the pensioners are increasing, lifespan is increasing, life span that is enhancing because of medical facilities. So pension liabilities साथ साथ बढ़ रही. And then austerity every time up. This word I hate this word austerity. All my life, 35-40 years, यही सुनते हैं austerity. Austerity means बचत करो, बचत करो, बचत करो. One bachat is okay that you don't overspend, of course, but then normal things, of course, you should be getting. My experience of railways is that at one time we could not even get A4 paper. Even today, it is not available to the junior people or to the supervisory staff. Offices में तो मिल जाता है. तो A4 paper का भी मसला होता है. Then एक issue, private sector engagement. How do you bring the private sector? How do you bring it in a big way? How do you commercialize railways and ask the private sector to come in into different fields to provide services, to provide you, maybe your trains can be completely be private sector. Under public-private partnerships, people can bring their own train locomotives, they can bring their own freight wagons, and they can run freight trains on our infrastructure and pay us. So ये भी एक issue है. Then people talk of privatization. Frankly, I'm against privatization in the railways. Maybe in some other places, yes, it is good enough. Then, but being a public sector enterprise and a symbol of unity of the entire country, right from Quetta to Peshawar, I really personally feel this is privatizing railways will be a big blunder, and people will just, for some time, maybe they will run the railways, then they will go into other businesses, and your railways will close down. Then safety and service reliability. Isko start karte hain. This is the first one. So what do we mean by this? The principle of Pakistan Railways has been safety first. This is the principle that has been introduced in Pakistan Railways, and this is an established fact that there should be no accident. Zero accidents, like in other railways in Japan and Germany, in France, and almost zero accidents. Why? Because they have upgraded their systems in such a way that safety, they have looked at the safety aspects and they have kept those safety aspects in view, and in operations, very few accidents happen, frankly. Of course, the wheel moves, and when the wheel moves, there are bound to be some kind of accidents, but there are no major accidents in some of the railways. Pakistan Railways, unfortunately, again, you see maybe in the news on regular intervals there are accidents happening where there's loss of human life, there's loss of very expensive assets of the railways. Locomotives tabah ho jate hain, your coaches are damaged. Then we have these safety point of view say, we have these about 1,600 unauthorized crossings have to be closed to avoid accidents. Unauthorized in the sense that everywhere you see people are just, I don't know why they have this love for the railway land. आगे सारा शहर आके रेलवे के करीब खेल रहा होता, and then the children are crossing and families are crossing, and it becomes a big problem for the drivers. वो होता रहता है. These are accidents which are always there. Then we have these unmanned level crossings which are a nightmare for the drivers. Unmanned means there is no person on it, and there are no gates on it. So the population on the both sides of the track is increasing. Small villages have turned into towns, towns have turned into cities, and cities have become metropolises. So it is actually, frankly, when you travel on the locomotive, you will realize it is a nightmare for the driver. So these unmanned level crossings have to be closed. But then when you are saying it is very easy, it is easier said than done. But the thing is, how do you do it? Who does it? And how much do you pay for it? Now, saying that an unmanned level crossing should not be there, you should have an overhead bridge or an underpass. Now, when you say this, that means you are talking of billions and billions of rupees of expenditure simply to have that, overhead bridge or underpass, or even have it manned. So it is a very expensive proposition. What the railways is doing now is that they are contacting the provincial governments, and they are asking the provincial governments that since you require the road and you require the passing of the railway line, the right of way is with the railways, Pakistan Railways. Now you start investing in converting these level crossings into underpasses or overhead bridges or maybe manned level crossing. Chalra, this is an ongoing process, but the existing thing is that these are still there. And of course, the funds are always short with the provincial governments. They don't have that kind of money to spare. The railway, of course, does not have it. So this is an ongoing dilemma which affects the safety and service reliability of railways. Then the railways has, ML1 is a project which will come up, but the latest floods that we had completely devastated the railways. So you need more money now to be pumped in. But the railways is, of course, it is doing its own thing with whatever money is there. So 600 kilometers of track is being upgraded, and some 100 locomotives and 600 coaches, 1,200 freight wagons are being refurbished through the PSDP. This is, I'm talking of a year back. Up to नई coaches भी आ गई हैं, passenger coaches from China have arrived. So these are ongoing things. Fire extinguishers are being installed on passenger coaches because of the safety. Though incidents where there was fire on the trains. So this is a cost being added to the trains. Safety inspection regime being strengthened. Special capacity building programs and awareness campaigns conducted. This keeps on going. They're doing it all the time through posters, through social media. How do you cross a level crossing? How do you cross an unmanned level crossing in face of an approaching train? So these are things that the railway keeps on doing. Then governance issue. The main thing is that the entire railway is being run by the railway board. सबसे जो policy making or review board hai, it is the railway board, which gives you all the whatever the government does for railways, it is done through the railway board. I'm a member, by the way, of the railway board. So now we are looking at our powers and how the railway board should be, of what kind of people should be on the railway board, so that those powers can be utilized. Initially, I don't want to go into the history of this, but there used to be 5 members of the railway board. The chairman of the railway board, then there used to be a member traffic, there used to be a member civil engineering, there used to be a member mechanical engineering, and there used to be a member finance. And these 5 people would give policy. They had executive powers, they had functional powers, they had technical powers, and they would be running the railway as whatever you see. And frankly, they did a good job so far as they were there. Then governments gradually, I'm talking 20, 30 years back, government started fiddling with the board, brought in people from the private sector, brought in people from different sectors, saying that diversity would bring in more. But being railways, I personally feel that this needs to be revised, and we are looking at it. Then Ministry of Railways, there's a separate ministry, as I said. Now why is this a governance issue? Because then the ministry, which is a policy making, whose mandate is only policy making. Now these people start interfering in the day-to-day affairs of the railways, in train operations, in taking decisions on different things. So that is where problems, start arising. The Ministry of Railways should focus on policy making, oversight, monitoring, and capacity building. Finished. They should have nothing to do with operations and safety and other things. Then the Chief Executive Officer of Railways. This is an issue, and it has been an issue for a very long time. The Chief Executive should be appointed completely on merit. He should be a railway man, irrespective from where you get him, whether it is you get him from France or from Bangladesh or from, I would say, even India. If you can get a good person, but he should be a good railway person. That is very, very important for an organization like railways. Then this way, rotation policy, forget it. Then digitalization of land, railway land. Luckily, in the last few years, maybe 6, 7 years, 8 years, the railways has managed to digitalize its land record. So it is available on digit. You just have to click through the computer, and every railway, every inch of it almost, you can see where the railway land is and what is the condition, where are the buildings, and where is the encroachment, and everything can be seen. And this is a good effort that the land management policy, how that land needs to be utilized. They have a policy which is, of course, at times there are problems with the courts. उसमें थोड़ी implementation में हो जाता है, but otherwise they have a policy. Then scrap, unlike other departments, scrap is a big issue in railways. It should not be an issue, but it is an issue. Why? Because railways, since it is an operating department, since a lot of steel comes in, a lot of material comes in, whether it is in the form of locomotives, or in the form of rails, or in the form of sleepers, or in the form of bridges and girders, or in the form of coaches and freight wagons. A lot of scrap is generated every year. That needs to be disposed of, and some money can be made out of this. Then in the governance issue, one issue is that, as I told you, railway has about 14 or 15,000 four wheel vehicles, 2 axle load wagons. These are completely redundant. इसका कोई इस्तेमाल नहीं है, frankly. And even if you use them, the cost of transportation becomes very high. These are inefficient. These are synonymous to Bedford trucks on the road. So जिस तरह वो inefficient है, breakdowns, everything. वो उस तरह हमारे for. So we need to maximize high capacity stock. उसका इस्तेमाल ज़्यादा हो, and then इसका फायदा ज़्यादा हो. Then human resource. Railways is overstaffed, frankly. It has been overstaffed for a long time. At one time, they had 139,000 people working in the railways. Luckily, thanks not only to our governments, thanks to the World Bank, thanks to the Asian Development Bank, thanks to other institutions, they said you need to stop recruiting people, and you need to do operate these trains with whatever strength is available. So every year about 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 people retire from railways, and recruitment has not been there. At times, of course, for essential categories, they do have it, but still the numbers we have about 70 to 80,000. I think this is too much for the number of trains that are running. Then e-office governance, e-office implementation process started with the support at NITB for paperless environment. This is an ongoing process. हो रहा है. Your reservations are online. You can do your reservations from your mobile. Online tracking systems are there. Online freight booking systems have been launched to facilitate passengers. Railway automated booking and travel assistance. As I said, this is there. An ERP procurement process has been initiated, where the entire assets of railways can be, you have it on one sort of screen, and with one touch of a button, you can see what kind of assets, how they are being used, where they are being used, can they be used better. उस तरह फैसले करने में आसान हो जाता है. Then now I come now to the final thing, जो कि financial management है. कि financial management, as I said, it also is a problem. It is reflective of the entire operations of railways. Now, if you look at this figure, it shows the total expenditures and revenues of Pakistan Railways from 2015 to 2019-20, and today also. You can say it's almost the same picture. In 2019-20, when you look here, the expenditure has gone up to 93 billion rupees, and the revenue is 47.6 46.5 billion rupees. Now this shows straight away a deficit of 50 billion. Look at 2018-19, your expenditure is 86.86 billion rupees, and your sorry, this is in billions, 54.5 billion. This is 85 and 50. So you always, there's a 40 to 45 to 50 billion gap. Today the gap is about 45 billion. The expenditures have gone up, the revenues have gone up in rupee terms, but in actual terms कोई खास फर्क नहीं पड़ा. So story is the same. ये graph will show you it's almost the same every year. 19-20 का फर्क पड़ता है. Yes, of course. When some people, sane people come in and they start utilizing the assets in a better way, then gradually वो चढ़ता जाता है. But unfortunately, 18, 19, 20, you see the deficit is increasing day by day. Then just to show you an example, 2019 and 2020, what is the components of the expenditure? Where is the money being spent? When we say this 97 billion rupees per year is being spent on the railways, कहाँ पे spend हो रहा है? Just to give you a picture. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, clearly.
अच्छा, वो यहाँ बिजली आती जाती है ना तो मुझे डर हो जाता है. So when you look at this pie graph, this is a good indication of what the railways is, how a bad organization is reflected is pie chart. Pension, as I said, pension of the employees, retired employees, the total expenditure of railways, जो कि मैंने बताया 97 billion rupees का जो expenditure है सालाना, 38% goes to pension. Out of every 100 rupees, 38 rupees pension ले जाती है. ठीक है, you can't do anything about it. Why? Because these are all government, federal government employees. They have retired. They have a right to that pension, so they have to be paid pension. You can't say कि जी नहीं देना, देना ही देना. Then, similar to the pension, we have the salary, which constitutes 29% of the total expenditure of the railways. So 29 and 38, when you add them together, you get 67% of the total budget is consumed. ये 67% है, अभी ये 70 से भी ऊपर चला गया. 70% goes to salary and pensions. This itself is reflective of a bad organization. Salary and pension should not be more than 10% in any organization. Good working organization. So yeah, when you look at it, 60, 67, 70% goes into these two heads, and frankly, the railways can't do anything about it. The CEO cannot do anything about it. The secretary can't do anything. This has to be paid. Why? Because it is under federal government. Salary increase, you have to pay to the employees. Pension increase, yes, you have to pay to the employees. Then what is left is for expenditure is then 19% of the total goes to fuel consumption. ये high speed diesel के ऊपर खर्चा है. Out of 97 billion rupees, 19% वहां चला जाता है, almost 20%. Then repair and maintenance पे 8% खर्चा रह जाता है. And others total, इसमें utilities का खर्चा, इसमें बाकी चीजें, इसमें maintaining all these hospitals and maintaining the schools and everything, ये 6% में चले जाता है. And repair and maintenance of locomotives, of coaches, of track, only hardly 8% is given. What सही picture होनी क्या चाहिए? That pension and salary should be 10%. Your repair, maintenance and all these operations, it should be about maybe 40%, 50%. HSD should be about 20, 15, 20%. Then only an organization, it'll look like a very healthy organization. Unfortunately, ये condition है. Now, how do you get out of this? ये बहुत बड़ी story है that I don't want to go into details now. कि कैसे होना चाहिए, मैं क्या समझता हूँ, कोई और क्या समझता है. और अगर मैं समझता हूँ कि If I think it should be done this way, why was it not done during the last so many years? This is the way railways has been. The major reason is that this is a federal government department. The federal government needs to put its foot down and do something about it and decide करना क्या है. And you keep hearing कि ये technocrats की government आएगी और ऐसे होगा. So we are waiting for somebody to come and tell us what to do. And also it's very clear. And this is reflective of other public sector organizations also. Whatever you see in the railways, this is true for steel mill, this is true for PIA, this is true for utility stores, this is true for everybody. Although they are not transport sectors, of course, लेकिन PIA of course is transport sector, but this is how it is in everywhere. How do you get out of this mess? Yeah, it's a long story, but since the government, it is a government department, the government needs to do something about it. And how do you do it? Of course, you look at different expenditures. How are we going to cope with this? Kaise hoga? Kya hoga? Then you go ahead. But your main area is here in train operations. You have efficient, financially viable train operations. That is the only way that you can achieve your uh, goals of having a financially viable railways. Then you pay for your salaries also, you pay for your pensions also. ये कोई मसला नहीं है. But वो जो misuse हुआ है, उससे ये चीजें खराब होगी. Now I'll show you the profit and loss for last 5 years. उधर just एक revenue और वो दिखाया आपको. तो इसमें last 5 years when you look at it, so as I showed you in that in the pie chart and the other one, the total actual revenue that is collected in 2019 and 2020, as I showed you, is 47.5 million rupees, right? So you have 47 billion. Okay. Then the expenditure here is 97.3 billion rupees. 47 is your revenue and 97 is your expenditure. So what the government is doing is the government is paying you 45 billion every year. Last 2019 20 में भी दिया, 2021 में भी दिया, 21-22 में भी देंगे. 45 to 50 billion rupees they're going to pay you so that you can run your railways as it is, which is again not not a very rosy picture. So this is the dilemma. Or iska fir breakup, you have a look at this column, this statement. It is very interesting. I don't want to go into details. The 2015, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. Story is still the same. वही story चल रही कि your revenues are here. Yeah. Revenues in 2016-15 was 2016, 15-16 were 36 billion. Then they rose to 40 billion in 16-17. Next year in 17-18 they rose to 49 billion. In 2018-19 this was the best year. It rose to 54.5 billion. Then 2019 में फिर कम हो गया 47, अब उससे भी कम है. So ये dilemmas हैं. Or expenditure, when you look at the expenditure, it has been increasing continuously. ये नहीं है कि कम हुआ कहीं. In 2015-16, expenditures were 63.2 billion. It rose to 80.5 billion, then 85.8 billion, 86.8 billion, and now 97.3 billion in 2019-20. To continuous rise. Why? Because your pay and pensions are increasing, over which the government, the railways has at least no control. These are controlled by the government, and definitely because of this, there are losses being thrown up, और वो government pay करती है in the form of subsidy, जो कि ये क्या हो गया. So ये जो गवर्नमेंट की सब्सिडी है ये शो हो रही है. This is what the government is paying you for running the railways. 37 billion in 15-16, same 37 billion in 16-17, 38 billion, 37 billion. ये देखें ना, this year 2018 things started getting better. Subsidies कम होने लगी थी. फिर suddenly 2018-19 से गवर्नमेंट चेंज एंड लुक यहाँ पे एकदम 45 पे चली. तो ये मसले हैं. ये ग्रेजुअली अगर ये चलती रहती the way it was in 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, I personally feel ये 4-5-6 सालों में it would have recovered and it would have been standing on its own feet today. Now this graph then shows revenues, gross revenues, total revenues क्या आ रहे हैं and what were the targets. The red are the targets and the green is the revenue. Here in 11-12 you can see the target is way ahead of the revenues. That means nothing was good was going on. Then in 12-13 gradually somewhere in 13-14 then the revenues became more than the targets, and in 14-15, 16-18, you know, here then the targets were 36 but the revenue was 40. So that means a railway was doing well. You come to 17-18, then 49, it almost reached the targets. You look at the target here, it is a very, very ambitious target, frankly. But still that ambitious target was achieved by railways, and it went on then in 2018-19. And then again, when there was a change here, the revenue started falling down. And your expenditures are still going up and up and up. तो ये मसला है, ये gaps जो है ना. This then pension का, I just to highlight that the biggest issue, as I said, is the pension payment, about which the railways can't do anything. This is a government's issue. They need to do something. Pension fund create kare, whatever they want to. They can invest in some real estate. They can invest in some endowment fund. बनाए create करें और लोगों को pension वहां से आए उसके फायदा हो, लेकिन उस पे कोई thinking नहीं है. And unfortunately ये फौज के साथ भी ऐसी है. Now here pension expenses and blue में, then red are the number of pensioners. Look at the number of pensioners, वो तकरीबन it is almost the same except यहाँ पे आके थोड़ा से बढ़ गए. So not much. And the pension expenses वो वही चल रहे हैं. But sorry ये है इसका number of pensioners ये है, and हाँ expense pension का, look at this line here, ये it has gone up, it is now beyond control और इधर तक पहुंच गई 296 million आपका, अच्छा 296 million rupees का खर्चा है pension का, which frankly railways can't afford. But now railways of course is doing certain projects. One of the main projects is ML1 infrastructure improvement में, it has been approved for 6.8, but now I believe, since I'm also part of the ML1 project, the minister has formed a committee. ECNEC has in fact formed a committee. I'm one of the members of the ML1, so we are re-looking at whatever the expenses are. So the approved one is 6.8, but now it has gone up to 9.3, I believe. Or it is upgradation. That I don't want to go into details, because I'm going to tell you what ML1 is, and I'm going to tell you what CPEC is, because as a railway systems को understand करने के लिए, transport को understand करने के लिए, you need to, and CPEC को understand करने, which is a big factor in the transport sector, उसको understand करने के लिए I'm going to give you a detail on this. Other projects भी हैं. 1,000 coaches are being sort of renovated. 5,000 wagons build operate transfer basis पे आ रही है. और इसी तरह open access track policy government किया है. Not much is going on.